Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, our mission is, well, to give you a shortcut to understanding something pretty perplexing.
Right, we're talking about the out-of-body experience, the OBE.
But specifically when it happens outside a hospital,
Oh.
following sudden violent trauma.
Yeah, and we've got a really compelling account here. It's from a source we're calling Harry W. His experiences are decades apart.
And what's really intriguing, you gave us this specific sensory data to look at, is how these two experiences, one accidental traumatic, the other, well, intentional, ritualistic, how they describe the exact same non-physical place.
Exactly, and it's quite different from the usual near-death experience of the NDE stories that, most people are familiar with. Less of the grand spiritual stuff, more specific sensory details.
Okay, so let's unpack Harry's story. Where does it begin?
It starts young. He was 6 years old.
6? Wow.
Yeah, and it was a typical childhood thing, really, a fight over a treehouse.
Ah, the classic turf war.
Pretty much. But it ended badly. A friend, apparently egged on by his sister, slammed the trapdoor down.
Oh, no.
Right onto Harry's head as he was reaching the top of the ladder. He fell. Hard. Onto the ground below.
Ouch. That sounds definitely traumatic.
It was. Sudden, unexpected, forceful. That's kind of important for setting the scene.
Right. But here's where it gets weird. The cognitive whiplash, as you called it before. He says he felt nothing. No impact. No pain.
Absolutely nothing. Instead, bam, instantaneously, he's back at the top of the ladder.
Back on the ladder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Peaceful, immediate, but totally bewildering for him.
I can imagine. So that's the core puzzle then, being in two places.
That's it. He's looking down, sees his own body. He described it as crumpled on the ground. And he's thinking, how? How can I be down there and also up here on the ladder feeling completely okay?
That sensory disconnect. It's fascinating. So the moment he separated, physics just went out the window.
Yeah.
What was that transition actually like?
Well, the main thing was lightness. Extreme lightness. He said nothing, including his, observing self, had any weight of physicality.
So not just feeling okay, but like fundamentally different.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly fine. Light as a feather. That feeling combined with watching his own body that points to a specific kind of separation.
And the sound, or lack of it. You mentioned silence.
Total silence. Profound silence. Even though below him, it was chaos. His dad panicking, his mom hysterical, the other kid just frozen.
He could see their mouths moving.
Yeah!
Shouting.
Wow. But heard absolutely nothing. Just silence.
Wow.
And this quiet observation, it let him notice some really specific visual details, things that help us classify this experience.
Okay, like what?
He said people and even things were surrounded by this subtle glow, emanating a few inches around them. He later called them faint auras.
Auras. Okay, that's interesting. And crucial, you said, because we need to contrast this with the usual NDE playbook.
Absolutely, because when you hear NDE, you think tunnels, bright lights, maybe meeting beings.
Like the big spiritual journey. But Harry specifically said what wasn't there.
Precisely. No fear, zero fear. No tunnel, no brilliant, overwhelming colors. And critically, no communication with, higher beings, angels, dead relatives, none of that.
So it wasn't a trip to the light?
No.
Yeah.
It felt more like observing the immediate physical world, but from a non-physical place right next door. Peaceful, yes, but very grounded in that sense. It suggests proximity, being adjacent to the physical, not traveling far away.
Okay, so how did this childhood event end?
Just as suddenly as it started, he watched the adults pick up his crumpled body. They carried it towards the house, laid it on his parents' bed.
And then it ended.
Chirp! Instant. The moment someone, quote, decided to feel along my spine and everything went black.
Physical touch brought him back.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
An instant trigger for re-entry and that return. It was not peaceful. I woke up in severe pain, and it wasn't temporary. This led to real, lifelong physical problems. Chronic issues with his lower back and neck started right then.
So peaceful separation, agony coming back. Did he ever figure out why?
Yeah.
Why such a jarring, painful return?
Well, that abrupt, forced return really stuck with him. Led him down a path of study for years. And his conclusion, it's sort of the foundation for this whole deep dive.
Which was?
He figured he must have been operating on the etheric plane.
The etheric plane. Okay. For you listening, if that term's new, what does that mean exactly?
Think of it like the energetic blueprint of the physical body. It's theorized in these esoteric systems to be the layer right next to us. the densest, the closest of the non-physical planes.
Ah, okay, so that explains the sensory stuff.
Yeah.
Because he was on the closest plane, he could still see the physical world clearly,
Yeah.
just with that aura overlay.
Exactly.
But he wasn't far enough away, maybe, to get the big light show people talk about on higher, purely spiritual planes.
That's his reasoning, yes. His proximity explains the peace, the silence, the auras, and the lack of that high-level spiritual scenery. It was a consistent, sort of low-level, non-physical vantage point.
Right, and this understanding, this personal proof that this adjacent layer exists, that fueled the second experience, the one decades later.
It did. In his early 20s, he decided to try and replicate it. Intentionally this time.
How did he go about that? I mean, how do you intentionally trigger an OBE?
He got deep into esoteric philosophy,
Yeah.
trying to gain some control over what happened accidentally as a kid. Specifically, he focused on theosophy and occultism.
Okay, can you briefly unpack those terms for us?
Sure. Theosophy basically seeks knowledge of God and the universe through mystical insight. It often talks about things like the 7 planes of existence, the etheric being one of them.
And occultism.
In this context, it's more about studying hidden knowledge, supernatural phenomena. Often involves rituals designed to access or control those hidden realities.
Got it. So he used these ideas
Yeah.
and tried what? A ritual.
Yeah, he mentioned a specific, quote, 7-day candle ritual combined with intense meditation. Sounds pretty involved.
Definitely theatrical.
Yeah.
Did it work because of the ritual itself, do you think, or was it more the meditation and focus?
From his account, it seems like the dedication, the intention, that was key. The ritual probably provided the structure, the focus.
And it paid off.
On the 7th day, yes, he was, quote, out of my body and found himself, guess where?
Back on that same plane. The etheric one.
Exactly the same place he knew from the childhood trauma. The intentional separation led him to the identical environment.
So he's now confirming his data. The aura glow was there.
Still there, around everything.
Peacefulness.
Complete peacefulness pervading his being, yes. And he also confirmed again none of the wild colors and inhabitants he'd read about in books describing deeper astral planes. Which brings us to a really interesting point about autonomy. Both his own and maybe the body's.
How so?
Well, during this intentional OBE, he was sort of walking or maybe floating. He felt weightless again towards his bedroom door, but then he stopped himself.
He paused his cosmic journey because of social awkwardness.
It's kind of funny, right? And weirdly considerate. He worried his friend who was in the next room might see him as some kind of ghost, a translucent figure, and totally freak out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was that moment of just human hesitation, thinking about his friend, that led to another really abrupt, violent end to the experience.
What happened?
He turned back, saw his physical body lying on the bed, and then felt his words suddenly yanked and, quote, slammed back into my body.
Oof. Not gentle.
Not at all. And his takeaway from this, his insight, is really core to the source material we looked at. He concluded, quote, bodies kind of have a mind of their own, and mine was not happy at all about me stepping out.
And he had proof. Physical proof.
Oh, yeah. The immediate painful evidence was a massive migraine, lasted for days. Clear signal of biological resistance, he thought.
And he couldn't do it again after that, despite trying.
Never again. He tried, but couldn't replicate the projection. It was almost like, yeah, the body learned a defense mechanism, put the shields up.
That's fascinating. The body accepted it under trauma, but fought it when it was intentional.
That was his interpretation, definitely.
So these two very different experiences, passive, traumatic versus active, intentional, they really shaped his whole outlook.
Absolutely. He says they launched him onto a spiritualist path.
What did that path look like for him?
It became his personal spiritual compass. He explored theosophy, like we said, a bit of occultism, threw in some Buddhism, but all filtered through his own direct experiences.
It sounds like it gave him the confidence to ditch established religion, but he still held on to Jesus. How did he reconcile studying esoteric stuff with keeping a figure like Jesus central?
Well, it seems his rejection wasn't about spirituality itself, but more about organized hypocrisy. He mentions ditching his Episcopal church upbringing after seeing what he called a congregation of hypocrites around his confirmation.
Okay.
So his OBEs gave him personal proof, undeniable data for him that consciousness exists outside the body. That let him discard the institutional dogma he felt, but keep the wisdom from figures like Jesus, who he still saw as one of the truly great spiritual teachers.
So very much walking his own path, whether rocky or smooth, as he put it.
Definitely. And his self-description is quite telling. He accepts being called a New Age type, but then clarifies he's far too materialistic to be a hippie, leans more towards bohemian.
It's a customized spirituality,
Yeah.
forged by these really intense, direct personal experiences of this physical adjacent plane.
Exactly. So, to kind of wrap this up for you listening, the main finding here is the incredible consistency in Harry W.'s reports. Whether it was triggered by sudden violence or intentional ritual,
It was the same place.
the exact same non-physical state, characterized by that deep peace, the weightlessness, the silence, and that specific visual detail, the faint auras.
Which really backs up his idea that he was hitting the same specific spot each time the etheric plane, distinct from those more spectacular spiritual journeys you hear about.
Right, that consistency across such different triggers, that's the core insight here.
Okay, so we're leaving you with that consistency. But here's the final, maybe provocative thought to chew on. Both times, the experience ended with this immediate painful physical resistance. The yank back, the migraine, the pain when his spine was touched. If the non-physical self, the soul, whatever you want to call it, was perfectly fine, peaceful, weightless out there, why did the physical body seem to fight back so hard against that separation? Like it had its own agenda, suggesting this almost autonomous, unhappy biological attachment.
That's a good one. The sovereignty of the body versus the consciousness.
Yeah.
Something to definitely mull over.
Thank you for listening to Borrowed Time NDE Podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss a moment of inspiration. Until next time, wishing you an extraordinary and truly wonderful time on your journey through life.